It's just a tiny speck, a faint dot, hidden in two old satellite images taken 23 years apart, and yet this barely noticeable object might represent the most extraordinary astronomical discovery of our time, because if this small dot turns out to be what scientists think it is, we may have finally found the long-theorized Planet 9, but what has led researchers to believe there's an undiscovered planet lurking out there in the darkness? Why has it remained hidden all this time? And even more puzzling, why might it now appear to be in the wrong place? To unravel this mystery, we need to travel far beyond the familiar planets, out to the icy edges of our solar system, to the Kuiper Belt. After Dutch astronomer Jan Oort proposed a distant shell of icy bodies now known as the Oort cloud, Gerard Kuiper followed by identifying a closer, disk, system shaped region just beyond Neptune. This is the Kuiper Belt, a ring of icy debris, home to dwarf planets, comets, and other frozen remnants of the early solar system. But astronomers believe something much larger is hiding among this. Frozen chaos, a real planet, a full-sized world that has somehow avoided detection for decades. How could we miss something so massive? Because Planet 9, if it exists, is unimaginably distant, too faint for even our best telescopes to easily spot. It doesn't reflect much sunlight, and it may radiate mostly in the infrared spectrum, so instead of looking directly at it, scientists have had to look for signs of its influence, subtle gravitational clues, the same way Neptune itself was predicted before it was ever seen. One of the leading figures in this search is American astronomer Michael Brown. You might recognize the name. He's the one who discovered Eris, the dwarf planet that ultimately led to Pluto being reclassified. Since then, he's earned the nickname the Pluto Killer. But Brown's story didn't end with Pluto's fall. In 2006, the same year Pluto was demoted, Brown's discoveries of distant objects known as detached trans-Neptunian objects sparked something even bigger. Together with his colleague Konstantin Batygin, Brown began analyzing the strange orbital patterns of these distant objects. What they found was astonishing. 6 of these objects were orbiting the sun in highly elliptical paths, but all of them were strangely aligned. Despite their different sizes and orbital speeds, their paths pointed in the same general direction. That shouldn't happen by chance. Even more baffling, their orbits were tilted about 30 degrees off the plane in which most planets orbit. The odds of this being a coincidence? Just 0.007%, in other words, almost impossible. Something had to be pulling them into alignment. Initially, some astronomers suggested the collective gravity of smaller bodies could explain it, but those models didn't hold up unless the Kuiper Belt was 100 times more massive than it actually is. So Brown and Batygin proposed a radical idea, a hidden planet, roughly 10 times the mass of Earth, possibly the size of Neptune, its orbit tilted, stretched out, and incredibly far from the sun, between 400 and 500 astronomical units away. That's 60 to 75 billion kilometers. It would take this planet around 10,000 to 20,000 years to complete just one orbit around the sun. Too far, too cold, too dark, but not impossible. Simulations showed that a planet like this could explain everything. The tilted orbits, the strange alignments, even the peculiar behavior of extreme objects like Sedna. And over time, more and more distant bodies were found whose paths seemed to agree with the presence of this mysterious 9th planet. So the question became, where is it? According to some models, the planet should be visible with the next generation of telescopes, especially one in particular, the Vera C. Rubin Observatory. Set to begin operations soon, this powerful observatory could finally confirm the existence of Planet 9. But then, something unexpected happened. A research team from National Tsinghua University in Taiwan decided to look backward instead of forward. They dug through decades-old infrared data using observations from the ERA satellite launched in 1983 and Japan, Asakari satellite from 2006. Their goal: find something that had moved slowly across the sky, exactly the kind of motion you'd expect from a distant massive planet. And incredibly, they may have found it. A small dot appeared in ERA's data in 1983, then again 23 years later in Akari data, it showed up 47.4 arc minutes away, just enough movement to suggest it wasn't a star, not a known planet, and not any cataloged object. The candidate matched predictions for what Planet 9 might look like: faint, cold, distant, almost like a ghost in the cosmic fog. If this object is real, it could rewrite everything we know about our solar system. It could reveal a missing piece of the puzzle, one that changes our understanding of how the solar system formed and evolved. It would also confirm that the outer solar system is far more complex than we ever imagined, that the sun, influence stretches much farther than we thought, that in the vastness of our cosmic backyard, there are still secrets waiting to be uncovered. But there's a twist. Michael Brown, the same astronomer who sparked the Planet 9 theory, isn't convinced. Despite acknowledging the team's analysis is well done, he remains skeptical. According to him, the object's location is all wrong. It doesn't match the predictions based on gravitational evidence. If this object is real, Brown says, it's not Planet 9. In fact, it might disprove the need for Planet 9 entirely. Why? Because if this new candidate had enough mass to affect the outer solar system, its influence would be different from what we've observed. It wouldn't cause the same orbital alignments. It wouldn't explain the anomalies. Brown puts it simply, we didn't just predict a planet beyond Neptune, we predicted the specific effects of a planet. If those effects aren't there, then we were wrong. And that's the uncomfortable truth of science. Sometimes what we find disproves what we thought. Sometimes one mystery simply leads us to another, and sometimes the answer isn't a revelation, it's a new question. Still, hope remains. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory, with its massive field of view and cutting-edge capabilities, may soon give us the answer. Either it will find Planet 9, or prove it never existed. And until then, the mysterious speck found in 2 satellite images separated by more than 2 decades remains just that, a cosmic question mark, hovering at the edge of everything we know. Maybe it's Planet 9, maybe it's something else entirely, a brown dwarf, a rogue planet, or something we haven't even imagined yet. In the end, the most haunting truth of all may be this: the solar system is still hiding secrets, and we've only just begun to look.